we will keep an eye on those and make sure, hopefully, that they will not get washed away. But, you know, what we really have to pay attention to is how close this system comes to shore. And right now, you guys have to stay tuned to the Weather Channel, because if it weakens because of shear and dry air, then there's a chance that it will come inland, perhaps. If it stays stronger, it looks like it will stay a little bit offshore, and that has to do, the strength has to do with what wind levels it can feel in the atmosphere and how it gets pushed and pulled due to that. So we are closely monitoring here into South Florida. There have been no evacuation orders just yet, but there was a AAA survey that actually came back and said 42% of residents are less likely to evacuate because of COVID. But, you know, all the proper precautions are being taken here in South Florida. And coming up at the top of the hour, we are going to speak to the mayor of Fort Lauderdale to find out how the city is preparing, not only for this storm, Jim, but also just for hurricane season in general, and perhaps some of those new rules, like having 2 masks now in your hurricane. Kit, if there's anything else like that that they're trying to get people to adjust to.
Yeah, 2 masks per person in your kit. Yeah, absolutely, Steph. Let's talk about the basin, because when Steph interviewed Ken Graham, the director of the Hurricane Center, earlier on, he pointed
2
out
masks per person.
Like, and you can see that on the outlook in the tropics here. Okay, you've got an area to watch behind ISAIAS. You've got 93L. I'm not worried about either one of these areas. This one's going to get caught up in the trough. This may develop and fizzle, but it's going to be out toward the Cabo Verdes. So I'm not really worried about either one of those. ISAIAS has all of our attention this morning. And from what we see, as interesting as it was yesterday morning, it's a little less interesting this morning in terms of, oh, wow, this thing could really develop. This could move north of Hispaniola and blow up. We see something that doesn't look like it's, going gangbusters right now. All right, the hurricane hunters are out there. They haven't found very strong winds at all. As a matter of fact, 74 is hurricane. You see any winds there? No, they haven't found that at all. They've gone through the storm already. Could it develop further? Sure. But look at what's going on. You see that? That's wind shear. We've got about 20 to 30 knots of wind shear right in through here. So this is our friend, not only because it allows the system to tilt, but it also pushes the dry air into the system too. So shear is our friend for weakening the system. Now, that said, all right, that doesn't mean we're out of the woods, all right? We're planning for dealing with a hurricane with a 200-mile tropical storm wind field to move through the Bahamas. That means storm surge 3 to 5 feet in this area, and obviously an extensive area of wind well away from the center. We will see that going through tonight, and it's certainly on into tomorrow. You'll notice what I think is most interesting too, even though you're not in the cone in Miami, you are under tropical storm watch. So could you get tropical storm conditions and not see this? That is a track cone. That's what we're talking about. So there's Miami-Dade dealing with, again, the tropical storm watches, Steph, Fort Lauderdale, up through the Treasure Coast and toward the Space Coast as well. We see this, and you are on the western edge of the cone. A weaker system will tend to follow that western cone. We can see this reflected in the models this morning. A stronger system may stay center or even eastern side. The shear this morning doesn't show us, at least at this point, and satellite depiction does not show us a strengthening system right now. Rain, wind, surge, you know the drill. Don't evacuate unless you absolutely have to. These are rainfall totals by models based on the current cone and where we think everything is going. Where does this go from here, though? Because just because it may not come ashore in Florida, Jen, that doesn't mean it may not come ashore in other places.
Well, exactly. And the cone is such an important tool, but we always say don't go cone crazy, right? Because there will be impacts outside of the cone, even inland. And let's talk about that. ISAIAS' dangerous path won't stop in Florida. It will work its way up along the eastern seaboard. We've got the whole eastern seaboard in the cone. Wilmington, North Carolina, Atlantic City, and Chatham, Massachusetts all could feel some impacts from ISAIAS. We're talking heavy rain, gusty wind, even the potential for flooding. Got to add in that rip current risk as well. It's not just the coastal cities either. We'll see some impacts inland. So let me show you what's all coming together actually to help pull our system up along the coast. What we're watching right now, I want to show you the water vapors here to start. Obviously, your eyes probably go right to the tropical system. We've been talking a lot about that. But I want to show you this. So this is just a plain old low pressure, part of the big developing trough that's coming in here. This is all going to track east over the next 2 days. And as that big trough tracks east, that is going to help pull up ISAIAS. So
it looks like an eye
over the Atlantic. That's going to be one of the main steering mechanisms. But this big old trough digging on in is going to be just as important in pulling this up to the north. So let's talk about this cone and some of the modeling and, how things have changed. Honestly, one of the biggest changes I've noticed is that, the overnight run of the GFS, the American model, came in with, a track that brings it more onshore and also a weaker system. The Canadian model, that's the outlier right here. That always actually has been one of our most farther west tracks. We're zooming in just so we can talk about Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina. Look, we're tucked in right here. We're not likely to get a strong system to track right towards this area. It would have to be weaker to take that particular track. We'll talk more about this.
Hey, I didn't order any pizza.
Jake from State Farm.